Hey everybody. So we're going to be going over solving simple equations. Um, right now we're just going to talk about our objective for the lesson for this video and for tomorrow's class time when we work on the assignment. The objective is that you can solve for unknown values by using the inverse operations of addition and subtraction. We will be using multiplication and division later on. However, today we're only going to be focusing on addition and subtraction. So we are going to start off this lesson by going over the vocabulary terms that you will hear as we continue on. So I'm going to flip this around here so you can see those. So let's just discuss today's vocabulary. We have three. The first is a constant. A constant is a fixed value. So let's say, for example, if we have the equation x plus 5 equals 9. In this equation, the constant would be 5 and a 9. I'm just going to highlight it over here. Okay. Those two numbers are never going to change. They represent what they are. Moving on, we have a variable. In this same problem, a variable here would be an x. So a variable is the quantity that may change within a mathematical problem. It's typically a letter. If we were to change this particular problem to a subtraction problem, this x is going to become a different answer. So it's a variable. Finally, we're going to talk about inverse operations. An inverse operation is opposite operations that undo each other. So today we're going to be working with addition, obviously, and then the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. Okay? If our problem starts off with subtraction, we're going to use addition as the inverse operation. Tomorrow we will also be going through multiplication. The inverse operation for multiplication is division. And if the problem starts off as a division problem, we're going to be using the inverse operation of multiplication. You cannot use an addition or have an addition problem and use a multiplication as an inverse operation. Addition and subtraction only go together, and multiplication and division. Okay, so as you just found out, the word inverse means opposite. The operations of addition and subtraction are opposite of each other, and they are going to be what we're using today. So we're going to go over a couple of key ideas and some problems to kind of help us get used to using inverse operations. So to begin, we're just going to go over how to find the unknown. So we're going to start with b plus 4 equals 9. In this equation, b is the variable. So we need to get the variable by itself. So what we'd like to do is get this, the b, by itself on one side. So in order to do that, as you can see, we're using addition here. So we need to use the operation that is opposite or inverse of addition. The opposite that is, or the operation that is opposite of this would be subtraction. So, because we're going to be subtracting, we're going to go minus, okay? So, and we're going to get the b alone, so what we need to do is take away 4 from this side, so then that will cross this out. And then what you do to one side, we have to do to another, just like our lesson yesterday with the weights and making sure that they're equal. So we're going to take away 4 from this side as well. So that will leave us with b over here, because this will be all crossed out, equals 9 minus 4. Okay? So, if we solve it, it'll leave us with b equals 5. Okay? Now, I'm going to erase this top part and just plug in our answer, because we always want to make sure that we check and get our answer right. So, our original problem was b plus 4 equals 9. So we said down here that b equals 5. So we're going to plug 5 in for b. So I'm going to rewrite it here. So 5 plus 4 equals 9. Now, this equation here should be true. 5 plus 4 does equal 9. So again, we're using the inverse operation in order to solve our problem, to find our variable. So we just did an addition problem. Now let's work with a subtraction problem here. So let's do d minus 5 equals 8. Okay? So first thing we need to do is we need to isolate the variable. This right here, the d is our variable. We need to isolate it, and we're using subtraction. So we need to use the inverse of subtraction, which is, you got it, addition. So we're going to add 5, okay? And then what we do to one side, we always have to do to the other. So that means that the 5's over here crossed out, okay? So what does that leave us with? We have d, we have isolated our variable, d equals 8 plus 5. All right? So let's add it together. D equals 13. All right. We always need to make sure that we're checking our work, that we're being good mathematicians. Okay? So I'm going to write my original problem up here at the top again. D minus 5 equals 8. Okay? So we had 13 was our answer that we have down here. So 13, I'm going to plug that in for D, minus 5 equals 8. Now, is our equation true here? Is 13 minus 5 equal 8? It is true. So we have the correct answer. So for today, all we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with addition and subtraction to find the unknown number, which is also called the variable, in an equation. All right. That wraps up our lesson on inverse operations with addition and subtraction. We're going to be finishing this video with a real-world application. I always like to show how we can use what we just learned in the real life. Once our real-world application problem is over, I will be displaying some questions that I would like you to answer and turn in to me tomorrow in class. Here it goes. Our real-world problem is this. A total of 11 inches of snow fell Friday and Saturday. It snowed 7 inches on Friday. How many inches did it snow on Saturday? So, we need to first write an equation with a variable and fixed number in it. Now, the one thing that I like to do is I like to find the total first and write that in. And it says right back here in our problem, a total of 11 inches of snow. So we're going to write equals 11, okay? Because that is one constant that we know. The other constant that we know is 7, okay? What we don't know is how many inches it snowed on Saturday. So we're going to make that variable b. So we know that if we take b, which is how many inches it snowed on Saturday, plus 7, which is how many inches of snow, or how many inches it snowed on Friday, it'll equal a total of 11 inches. So, of course, we have an addition problem. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the inverse operation, which would be subtraction. We're going to take away 7. And what we do to one side, we always do to the other. So that leaves us with b equals 11 minus 7. So b equals 4. Now, we always want to make sure that we plug it back in, so I'm just going to change colors here. We'll plug it in, so we get 4 plus 7 equals, does 4 plus 7 equal 11? It sure does. So that is our real world problem for today. We will go over problems similar to this tomorrow in class on our assignment. I'll see you then. Your questions for tomorrow are, how do you keep an equation balanced? And how do you check your solution? Please make sure you turn them in at the beginning of class time.